Coming up next on Columbus Connection, dialing 211 is an amazing resource. Again, dialing 211 is an amazing resource. We'll tell you why. Stay tuned. Welcome to Columbus Connections. I am your host, David Britt, and we are here today to talk about 211. Now, Columbus does have its issues, but we also have a lot of great organizations that are here to help our citizens. We're going to talk about how you can reach those organizations if you ever need them. Now, I have with me, you know what, I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are, tell us who you're with, tell us why you're here.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Candace Muncie. I am the manager of 211 and Impact at United Way of the Chattahoochee Valley.
And I'm Jules Hazen with Columbus Fire and EMS. I'm the division chief of EMS.
Welcome to the show. Now, 211, Candace. 211 has been out for a while. Some people may not know about the type of resources you can get by dialing 211.
Absolutely. 211, that easy to remember number, just like 911, 311 here in the city. 211 puts you in contact with thousands of different types of community resources. Mostly the calls that we get are for basic needs, so food, clothing, shelter, utility bills. But then we get a lot of calls for access to health care, for the uninsured, underinsured, after school activities, volunteering and donations, anything that the city doesn't provide, they can call 211 for.
Gotcha. And if I call 211, what happens? If I need one of these resources, what happens when I call 211?
When you call 211, when you visit our website, when you text, you get everything you need to know before you even reach out to the agency. You'll know what their intake procedure is. So many things changed during COVID. You couldn't walk in anymore. You had to call and make an appointment. So you find out what that intake procedure is. What documents do I need before I get services? The eligibility requirements, so they know everything they need to know. And we have multiple resources. So we empower people to make choices for themselves about where they get those resources. Because that's important to feel like you're in control of the agencies that you work with, the different organizations in our community that you interact with.
Right, so it could be something as big as domestic violence to something as not small, but something like just utility assistance. You may need one resource, you may need multiple resources, you may need one more than the other. So they would call 211 and 211 connects people.
And that's exactly what we do. We connect. The one thing I love about calling 211 is we've got some great call agents who are trained to listen to the bigger picture. So you may call for utility assistance. And they would say, have you ever thought about using a local food pantry so you can shift your money around?
Gotcha.
Or have you, thought about furthering your education, or what kind of jobs do you want to do? What kind of career are you looking at? So we can move people out of poverty into being self-sustainable.
Right. Now, some people are in need, but sometimes there's pride. Sometimes there are other issues that prevent them from wanting to call. What do you say to somebody saying, I may need it, but for whatever reason, I don't. Sometimes I'm just scared to call.
I think everyone has a lot of pride sometimes. No one wants to admit that they need help, but we're all there. At one point or another, we're going to need help with something, whether it's financial assistance, mental health and counseling. So much is out there that we're gonna need help. But the great thing about 211, it's free and confidential. We might ask you your first name so we can be polite, but you don't have to give any personal information. You can text. That's my favorite way. I think the generations coming up, texting is very easy. All of that information gets sent right to your phone. Our website is wonderful. It's very easy to browse through and find those resources. So what we want to do is remove any of those barriers.
Yes.
We want to put people at ease and where we can meet them where they are and how they want to get that help.
Gotcha. It's free and it is confidential.
It is confidential.
And you guys are just connecting them with those services that can help them.
One other thing I want to tell you about 211, for any of our citizens that are experiencing homelessness, 211 is the coordinated entry point for homelessness into any housing program in Columbus. So they can call 211, it's a quick 11-question application, and then it gets turned over to Home for Good, which is another United Way initiative to get people into stable housing.
Awesome. Now, Jules, this is kind of a creative and kind of a no-brainer. Fire EMS, you guys are there on the spot for people, not just for fires, but for a lot of different emergencies. And you guys are sometimes the first ones to notice different needs. So it really makes sense that you guys are partnered with United Way to spread the information about what 211 can do.
Yes, sir. I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, no problem. So you guys, when you guys go into assess the situation, you can. And another thing this does is it prevents people from having to but having to call as much on 911. So people don't have to weigh as heavily on 911 when those resources are out there for 211.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. When they go out, if our crews recognize that a citizen might have a need or resource that's beyond our capability, they've been instructed to give them this card and to call 211 and give them a brief explanation of what those resources that are available to them. And then they leave it with them, and hopefully they'll contact 211 after they leave. They'll also tell them what the operating hours are for the call agents and so forth. They'll also let me know that they did give a 211 card to that citizen, and then I'll follow up with Candace here to see if they did make the 211 call to the agent, and if not, then I'll let her know, and then she'll in turn try to contact them. So they're not left behind.
Right. And what are the time frames that 211 is operational?
The call center is open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. They do have a service where you can leave a message and call back if the lines are busy, so you don't have to wait on hold that time. But that's why we really encourage people to use texting and to use the website as well, because of course they're 24/7.
And it's the same thing, texting 211?
You text your zip code to
Okay.
898-211, which is the TXT, 211, easy to remember. But really, that is the whole goal of this partnership. And the city and United Way have been such fabulous partners. And to join together to meet what is a very obvious need at times, you're right, it was a no-brainer. It just makes sense. And we're so excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so much that fire EMS already does, with you all being first responders, with you all being literal lifesavers, with you all being someone that sees so many families and so many people in sometimes their worst moment in their life.
Yes, sir.
Having the knowledge to assess all those emergency needs, but then having the heart and the willingness to say, hey, I see something that I can probably help you out with. I imagine that you're a little more trusted in that moment than say just somebody on the street saying, hey, go call 211.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a great time to be able to reach that. That may be the best time to get somebody when they're right there in that need.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so beautiful about this program, is that it's showing that fire and EMS, they're looking at that family or that individual as a whole, not just a patient that's in front of them, but as a community member who needs more help than they can give.
Yeah. When we talk about the needs that 211 meets, I know we may not be able to name all of them, but what are some of the main needs or some of the main things you see that are accessible through 211?
We have been in operation since 2014, and every single month since then, utility assistance, housing, and food. And they kind of rotate on which is the top. Of course, the winter and summer utility bills are going way up. We get calls for that. Come to the holidays, we'll get a lot of calls about food. But we get so many calls about access to health care. And this really was, prescription assistance. How do I get to my doctor's appointment?
Yeah.
During COVID,
Wow,
how can I get tested? How can I get vaccinated? So this was really where the partnership came from, was talking about those medical needs first. We talked about domestic violence needs. But then as the conversation and the partnership grew, it was like, well, you know, our first responders see other things in the home. Well, certainly let's try to address those all at the same time.
Yeah, awesome. So again, if you have needs that you don't need 911, call 211. Again, call 211. If you're not sure, call them anyway. They can let you know.
That's
and
right.
What is the text number again?
Text your zip code to 898-211.
Just that simple. They
Just
are
that
here
simple.
to meet your needs. Another example of how the community comes together to really support and help our own community. Again, thanks to United Way. Thanks to Columbus Fire and EMS for this amazing. And again, if you're in need, if you don't need 911, dial 211. Again, I'm David Britt. This is Columbus Connection.